You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good lunchtime, whatever time of the day that you're listening to this. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to have a nice discussion today. It's going to be an informative discussion. It's not going to be about politics. It's not going to be about anything like that. And today we're going to talk about mediation. But I want to tell you that today I got up and it's cold outside again. Yesterday it got up to 80 degrees, 81 degrees. Now it's down and it's cool again. And I walked outside and I thought, oh my God, I am going to get sicker than a dog if this weather keeps going up and down like this. But that's life, right? My voice has changed, which is good. It's gotten lower. That's the only way you sound good sometimes. When you sound sexy is when you have a cold. But what can you do, right? Listen, I have been going back and forth with this person who really does need to mediate a situation. And the other side wants to mediate, has agreed to mediate, and wants to settle some things. The other side keeps coming back to me saying, if you will change your contract to say you're a third party, I will sign the contract. For some reason, she doesn't think a mediator is a third party. And that is the whole definition of a mediator, is that they are a third party. In fact, the legal term in the law section of Google, if you look at what a mediator does, that's what their role is. They are a third party. And being a third party means that you are independent from everybody else's thoughts, which is a good thing. You need, at some point in time, when there's a dispute, or there's a misunderstanding, or there needs to be a clarification of something, you need to bring in a mediator, which is a third party individual, to sit down with both parties and go through the issue. And at the end, you'll come up with a situation that is good for both parties. 85% success rate. When parties are unwilling or unable to resolve disputes, one good option is me as a mediator. Mediation is generally a short-term, structured, task-oriented, and hands-on process from the mediator with both parties trying to get them to resolve an issue or to get some clarification on an issue. In mediation, the disputing parties work with a neutral, that's me, neutral party, or what we call a neutral third party, which is the mediator, which is me, to resolve the disputes. The mediator facilitates the resolution of the parties' disputes by supervising the exchange of information in the bargaining process. The mediator helps the parties find common ground and deal with unrealistic expectations. I, as a mediator, offer creative solutions and assist in drafting a final agreement or a settlement. The role of the mediator is to interpret concerns, relay information between the parties, frame issues, and define the problems. And he can do that. I can do that because I am a third party. I am apart from both of these people. I don't have a relationship with these people. I'm not representing either side. What I'm doing is I'm listening to both sides, and then I'm bringing them to the bargaining table where we can discuss the issues and come to a term. And I always tell my clients when they come before me is that be prepared when you come. Have some options that you can put on the table. Understand what the other person is saying. So the most important thing about mediation is that you need to listen to the other side. Don't say anything while that other person's talking. Listen. Take notes. Now, at the end of the, if you want to call it the opening statement, which both sides get to state what needs to happen, the mediator is able to form questions, and those questions are to get to the point that we need to discuss, and that both sides understand the issues. And most of the time, the issues are exactly the same thing. They're just saying it in a different way, and both of them are pissed off because the other side doesn't understand it. So the mediator takes the statements, reforms it so that the other side can understand what is really being said. I tell you, it saves so much time. I know so many people who said, let's go to court, let's sue. Listen, if you can settle it in mediation, it's confidential. It never gets posted anywhere. If you go to court, that immediately goes into the docket, and anybody can look up the docket. Listen, I used to represent, in Los Angeles, some high-named individuals. And I always told them, just sign a mediation agreement so that you mediate first before you go to court. Because once you put it in the docket, there are tabloids out there who monitor the court records every single day just so that they can publish that, he filed for the divorce. He got sued. A mediation never gets posted anywhere. It's confidential. What you discuss in those mediation sessions is between you and the mediator. That's it. It doesn't go any further. If it does, there's a problem. But it's supposed to be confidential in every sense of the word. What you tell me on one side is confidential until you tell me and give me permission to say something to the other side. We plan out the wording and everything else that you want to say to the other side. We are focused on the communication process and the resolution process of getting to an agreement or an understanding or a clarification that both sides can live with. It's very important. Mediation is usually a voluntary process unless the court says you have to mediate. But if you do it privately outside, it makes it so much easier. Now, sometimes there are statutes and rules or court orders that may require participation by both sides in mediation. The court can come in, especially in a divorce situation, and says, you have to mediate. You have to sit down with the mediator. So, unlike the litigation process where me, the mediator, or the neutral third party imposes a decision over the matter, we don't do that. We don't make a decision for you. We get you two to make a decision. Now, a judge is going to make a decision. You go to court and the judge is going to make a decision. You do this, you do that. That's going to be what the judge says. And he's going to tell you when and what time that mediation is going to take place. You don't have a choice. At the very beginning, though, you do have a choice. If you have a mediation arbitration clause within your contracts, use it. Because once you go to court, it's expensive. Very, very expensive. With the mediator, it's much faster, much cheaper. And you're talking to a third party, you guys are coming to the conclusion, and then we finally get to an agreement that you both sign, and then that's it. In fact, if you've already got a court case going on, you can still mediate. So the most important thing is that, and understand this, that a mediator is a third party. It's a neutral third party. Not it. I am a neutral third party. And it's a good process. And mediation is a process because there's several different steps that we take during the mediation process that get you to communicating in a way that is professional, that we're looking and focused in on the issues that need to be resolved, and we resolve them. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, I'm not quite sure why I need a mediator. Well, that's probably, if you're asking that question, that you probably do need a mediator because something else is going on that needs to be resolved. There is an issue there that needs to be resolved. Now, there are all kinds of different mediations. There's mediations for business, mediations for divorce, mediating for the separation, mediating for a parenting agreement, where we set up all the schedules and everything. There's mediation between family members. I have even done mediations between grandparents and children just to be able to see their grandchildren. So there's all kinds of mediation. I have even mediated who is going to get the cat. Not the cat, but the dog. They came to me and they said, we need to have a decision based on which of us is going to get the dog in our divorce. I have mediated so many different types of issues. And it was done nicely. The communication process was well thought out because I try to sit down with each individual who's mediating, and I tell them this is what you need to do in order to have a successful mediation. I don't tell them how to present their case. I tell them how to think about what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, the words that are going to be used, and to keep the words minimum so that we can literally focus in on and zero in on the issue that needs to be resolved. So mediation is a great source. Now, if you want to argue with me about what a mediator is, and if you want me to change the language of my mediation contract, because both of you have got to agree to mediate, otherwise there's no mediation. There's no discussion, there's no communication. Don't have me change my wording from the word mediator to third party, because a mediator is a third party. So I'm not going to change any language based upon your wishes like that. Mediation is working with a mediator who is a third party. He's independent of both of you. He's the middleman or middlewoman, and he is listening to both of your sides. We don't represent anybody. We don't represent either side. So mediation is a very important process if you're going through a divorce, or if you have a business dispute, or if you have a vendor dispute, or if you have a contract dispute, or if you have a dispute between partners in an LLC or partnership, or a dispute between members of a corporation because they think things should be done differently. Now, I'm going to tell you and be very honest with you, sometimes mediation does not work all the way through. And it has to do with the attitude of the individual who is sitting there as one of the parties. I'll give you a good example. I had a mediation between two partners. They just could not see eye to eye. And one felt that they were working so hard, and the other one thought that they were working hard, but things were not getting done. One side was getting done, one side was not. So we sat down, we went through the process, and I even went a little bit too far and gave them assignments of what they needed to do. And then come back and let's see what happened. And so the process started out good. They started having the daily communications, but then the other side decided, I don't think I want to do this anymore, and he just left. He went AWOL. So sometimes it depends on the individual if they really truly want to have a resolution and if they truly want to work at it. That is the most important thing about mediation, is that you truly want to have a solid agreement between both of you so that you understand what the rules are, what the boundaries are. In divorce, we have to set boundaries on communication. How you communicate, what mechanism you communicate through, how often do you communicate. So let's get back to the point, and that is a mediator is a third party. And that is the individual that is trying to guide both parties to a resolution, to an agreement or clarification, and to resolve the problems that existed so that they can get to a place where they can move on. That moving on is sometimes the hardest part of individuals. I love mediation. I've been doing mediation for a long time. I started my office in 1984. That's a long time ago. A lot of you were not even born. A lot of you were just still thoughts, and maybe not even a thought. Sometimes some of you might have been mistakes. I was a mistake. But I started my practice way back in 1984. Now, I wasn't doing pure mediation, but what I was doing is resolving issues within businesses. And what happened is I got involved in taking on projects and problems that no one else wanted to take on in the business. And some of these companies were large companies. They were cogeneration power plants. They were entertainment. They were publishers of software. I mean, all different types of companies. So I would go in and look at the issues and the problems and resolve them. And I got so good at it that people started calling me to say, hey, Mike, we need to do this. No one else wants to do it in the company. Call me in, and I would do it. And especially what I got good at was mergers and acquisitions. And when the merger and acquisition goes in, you have to send someone in to the other company and listen to the individuals and differences. Because one company ran it this way, the other company ran it that way. Who gets to say what is the best? So you have to send in me. And I had to sit down and with all the parties and get to a resolution of how things were going to be done in the new company. Because now the company was much larger, there was more managers, there were more communication, everything. And plus, you went from just a few offices, now you went to 75 offices in manufacturing plants worldwide. So every year I would get on the plane and I would start hopping around from China to Hong Kong to Taiwan to Singapore to Malaysia to Ireland. I mean, I was all over the place listening to what people were saying, especially when I needed to deal with the year-end auditors. But I loved that part of my job because I was the mediator. I was the individual that people talked to. I loved that part of that job. So I got really good at it. And then I built up one of the largest tax practices in Los Angeles. And we really worked hard. And again, I was dealing with divorce situations and also business situations between partners because people saw things differently. And I would bring them in, talk with them, mediate it, and we'd come to an agreement. So through all these years, I have been doing mediation in some way. So in 2017, I decided I'm going to do this full time because I really like it. I like the interactions of the individuals. And at that time, we were doing it face to face, right? I then had to adopt to virtual mediation. That was a little bit difficult to do because I always like to see the people's body movement. I like to see their faces. So now what I'm having to do, because it's all virtual, I'm literally having to focus in on the eyes. The eyes tell the story of what they're thinking. And so that's what I look at, all the eyes. And I have adapted, I should say, to this new virtual mediations. It's now a skill. But it's still the same process. I'm still acting as that third party. I'm acting as a go-between on the negotiations. I'm the one that's writing the memorandum of understanding so that both sides understand what they agreed to. So nothing has changed except that it's now virtual. But I truly hope that we can get back to live mediation because I feel so much better when I've got the individuals in front of me. And I can literally take them out of the room and talk to them one-on-one and then come back into the room and have a totally different story going on. I do the same thing in virtual, but it's more difficult. click here, click there, click that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, because I'm really bad at that. But I do it. And the best part is getting to that end day where you have the resolution and everybody's ready to sign and everybody's willing to walk away from the table knowing that they have an agreement, they've got rules and obligations that they need to live up to. Third-party mediation is the best out there at the moment. If you want to save money on legal fees and everything else. Now, there are times where we've got the attorneys in the mediation. And sometimes it's better that way because sometimes the issue may be so complex that you need the legal expertise as how things are going to be done within that state. Now, I mediate all over the United States. So I have mediations going on from South Carolina, North Carolina, Vermont, all the way over to Seattle, all the way down into Oregon and Arizona, and all different states I'm mediating in. But they're all the same story. So it's really easy because most everybody is telling me the same story. I've heard almost everything, I think. I've even had one couple, we were doing a separation agreement. And the separation agreement was going well. I mean, we were talking back and forth. And the man said to me, I love this woman. I love her with all my heart. And he really wanted the marriage to continue on working. And they were in counseling, and I encouraged them to be in counseling. But he said, I really want this to work. I want a separation, but I want to be married to this woman. I love this woman. Now, the girl on the other side said, oh, I don't know. But sometimes you hear people say what's in their heart. And I think that's the best part. Because mediation allows them to say what they need to say, be professional about it, be civil, so that we can get to an agreement so that both parties know that they've got structure in moving forward. I think that's great. Mediation is great. So I hope that that gives you kind of an understanding of what mediation is about. It's a process. And sometimes the process is smooth and sometimes it's ugly as hell, depending on the people that are sitting in front of me. But I love it. Listen, if you have any questions on mediation or if you need mediation, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Or send me an email at info@lodge-co.com. If you want to know more about mediation and if you want to understand it better, go to my website, www.lodge-co.com. If you would like to support my podcast and the content that I try to produce for you guys so I'm teaching every single day, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge, Lodge. Today's going to be a great day, guys. Go out there, enjoy it. In some parts of the world, I know that, like up in South Carolina, they had snow the other day. So some of my clients sent me pictures of the snow. Very nice. I used to live in South Carolina, and it's a very good state. If you ever want to go to a state that's really laid back, very family-oriented, very children-oriented, I tell you, in my house there, I built this huge front porch. And the reason why I built that front porch is because I wanted people to come visiting. Now, visiting is an important word in the South because they can just drop in at any given time and visit with you. And I love that part of the South. Call it visiting. I'm going over and visiting Michael. It's a good experience. So I built this huge front porch. And I had chairs out there and tables. And every single morning I would go out there, have a cup of coffee, watch the squirrels and the chipmunks play. My dogs would be out there trying to chase the chipmunks, but they couldn't go anywhere because they had a fence around them. Dogs don't know that, right? But in the morning, I would have people come across the street, and they would sit there and visit with me. Now, in Los Angeles, I never had that happen. In Los Angeles, you don't talk to anybody. You just go about your business, and you do whatever you're doing. But in South Carolina, they still have the art of visiting, and it's the best part of life ever. So if you ever want to live in a state where it's laid back, the cost of living is low, the people are the friendliest in the world, go to South Carolina. I guess I just did an ad for South Carolina, right? South Carolina, you owe me. Everybody go out and have a great day today. Today is your day to do something great. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.